Hey everyone, big markets think simple here. There's a secret weapon on the battlefields of Ukraine. Satellites, drones, radio signals, intelligence reports. Thousands of scattered data points flying in from every direction every second. And somewhere in a command center, a screen lights up. It connects the dots. It predicts the enemy's next move before they make it. That weapon? It's called Palantir. Named after the all-seeing crystal balls from Lord of the Rings, the ones that let you see the truth across vast distances, this company has built something eerily similar in real life. But here's where it gets interesting. That same magic crystal ball, it's no longer just on the battlefield. It's walking into corporate boardrooms, factories, hospitals, logistics hubs. Because turns out, businesses needed magic too. And the numbers prove it. In 2025, Palantir hit $4.5 billion in revenue, growing fast, printing cash, looking unstoppable. But then, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, dropped something called Frontier, their own version of the crystal ball, cheaper, faster, and aimed directly at Palantir's crown. The era of monopoly is over. The real fight has begun. Can Palantir hold the throne, or is it about to become a relic of a moment that's already passed? Let's find out.
This video is not investment advice. It's for educational, entertainment, and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research before making any investment decisions. Any investment decisions are your own responsibility.
September 11th, 2001. The deadliest terrorist attack in American history. And here's the part that made it even more devastating when it came out later. The CIA and FBI already had information about the attackers, passport records, flight records, even some communications intercepts. The intelligence existed. The problem, nobody connected the dots. A PayPal co-founder named Peter Thiel had a thought. Wait, we built algorithms that catch fraudulent transactions by finding hidden patterns across massive amounts of data. What if we used that same idea to find terrorists hiding inside oceans of information? That idea found its way to a quirky philosophy PhD named Alex Karp. And in 2003, driven by one singular mission, make sure 9/11 never happens again, they launched Palantir. The name comes straight from Tolkien. The Palantiri were seeing stones. They revealed distant truths. They exposed threats invisible to the human eye. For this company, it wasn't just a cool brand name, it was their reason for existing. Now, Palantir operates nothing like your typical Silicon Valley startup. While Google and Meta were shouting, "Technology for everyone, everywhere," Palantir drew a hard line. We work for the West, period. No sales to China, no sales to Russia, no exceptions. Their belief, technology is never neutral. It always serves someone, and Palantir's tools would only ever serve free democracies. But wait, doesn't a company that digs through everyone's data have a massive privacy problem? They thought of that. Every single time someone accesses data inside Palantir, that access gets logged. Who looked, when, why. Total transparency built in as a defense against abuse of power. And one more thing that makes Palantir unlike anyone else. They don't send salespeople, they send engineers. Not suits with PowerPoints, coders, problem solvers. They deploy directly into dusty military bases in Afghanistan, grease-covered factory floors, hospital command centers, laptops instead of rifles. These are what Palantir calls forward-deployed engineers, and they are the heartbeat of the company. They don't pitch a product, they build the solution on-site, in the mess, in the real world. That's why Palantir really works. In 2005, the CIA's investment arm, In-Q-Tel, saw the potential and funded them. By 2008, Palantir launched Gotham, their platform built specifically for governments and intelligence agencies. Then in 2010, word quietly spread that Palantir's technology played a role in tracking down Osama bin Laden. Suddenly, every intelligence agency in the world was paying attention. To understand Palantir's business, you have to start with one question. What does this company actually sell? Car companies sell cars, Microsoft sells software, but Palantir is a little different. What Palantir sells is the ability to make better decisions. That's it. And they deliver that ability in two forms. The first is Gotham. Yes, like Batman's city, and it fits. Modern warfare isn't about firepower anymore. It's about information. Satellites capturing thousands of images a day, drones recording hundreds of hours of footage, thousands of intercepted phone calls. The problem? All of it lives in completely separate places. The CIA works in spreadsheets, the FBI uses Word documents, the Pentagon runs on yet another system entirely. Nobody's talking to each other. Gotham connects it all, not just displays it, connects it. Here's an example: a suspicious phone call near the Syrian border. 3 hours later, that same person shows up at a local market. At that market, traces of explosive materials. And right now, a vehicle registered to that person is heading toward the U.S. Embassy. Gotham puts all of this on a live map in real time. A dot becomes a line becomes a story becomes an operation. In Ukraine, it's worked exactly the same way. Where are the Russian tanks? Where is the danger moving next? Gotham has been whispering the answers to Ukrainian commanders. Gotham is the brain of the battlefield. The second is Foundry. A foundry is a factory that melts raw materials and shapes them into something useful. Palantir does the exact same thing, just with data and for companies instead of militaries. Think about Airbus. One commercial airplane has 4 million individual parts, sourced from 5,000 suppliers around the world, factories running non-stop in Germany, France, and Spain. If one bolt arrives 2 days late, $1 billion aircraft delivery slips by a month. The nightmare is every factory speaks a different language. Germany runs SAP. A French supplier uses Excel. The logistics team has its own separate system. Nobody can see the whole picture at once. Foundry turns the entire operation into a glass box. Spanish factory, engine parts running low. Production line shuts down in 72 hours at this rate. Emergency order needed from French supplier. Reroute German logistics. Notify Emirates Airlines about adjusted delivery date. All of that simulated by AI in about 3 seconds before the problem ever actually happens. Airbus used this. Faster deliveries, fewer delays. Morgan Stanley uses it too. Foundry is the brain of the business world. But here's the question you should be asking right now. Is plenty of companies analyze data? Why does it have to be Palantir? The answer lives in the heart of Palantir's technology, something called ontology. It's a philosophy term meaning the study of existence, and Palantir uses it to transform raw data into meaning. Here's a simple way to understand it.
Say your company has a customer named John Smith. Your sales spreadsheet says, John Smith, VIP client. Your finance system says, J. Smith, 100K annual revenue. Your customer service log says, customer number A1542, 2 complaints filed. A normal system thinks these are all 3 completely different people. Palantir's ontology says, these are all the same person, connect them. Now when John calls your support line, the agent instantly knows, this is your most valuable customer, he filed a complaint yesterday about a defective product, and he's probably furious right now. Lead with an apology. But here's where it gets truly powerful. Ontology doesn't just connect data, it understands it. A regular system sees the number 80 and says, it's 80. Ontology says, boiler number 3, temperature 80 degrees, outside temp 95 degrees. This is an explosion risk. Sound the alarm immediately. Data stops being numbers, it becomes reality. And depending on what you load into that ontology blueprint, it becomes Gotham or it becomes Foundry. Connect terrorist suspects, locations, and communications records, you get a battlefield intelligence system. Connect engines, parts, mechanics, and inventory, you get an enterprise operations platform. Different shells, same core, a brain that connects the world. Then in 2023, Palantir poured rocket fuel on top of everything. They called it AIP, the AI platform. Think of it as taking ChatGPT and placing it directly on top of Palantir's entire ontology infrastructure. Before AIP, building an ontology for a large organization took Palantir's elite engineers months at a time, manually opening thousands of data tables, writing every rule by hand, drawing every connection one line at a time. It was grueling, specialized work that required the best engineers in the room. And using it wasn't easy either. Trained analysts had to navigate multiple screens, apply filters, and manually build charts just to answer a basic question. After AIP, months became days. And the way you use it now is almost shocking. A manager just opens a chat window and types in plain English, find the factory with the highest defect rate last month, identify the parts that caused it, name the supplier, and write me a full report. The AI follows the ontology map, assembles the data, and comes back with Vietnam Plant 2, defect rate 8.3%, cause, temperature instability in component A, supplier, company B, contract and quality history attached. Want me to recommend 3 alternative suppliers? No coding, no complex dashboards, no Excel formulas. Every manager now has an elite AI commander sitting right next to them around the clock. And one last piece, Apollo. This is the system that deploys and updates all Palantir software anywhere on Earth, inside a submarine, at a military base with zero internet access, on an aircraft cruising at 40,000 feet. It works. That's why Palantir can serve the most classified government contracts that no other software company could even get close to. Put it all together, and Palantir's entire business comes down to one sentence: connect scattered data so that humans can make faster, smarter decisions, on the battlefield, in the boardroom, or anywhere in between. What matters today isn't who has the most data, it's who can understand it fastest and act on it with the most precision. That's the problem Palantir exists to solve. So, this all sounds impressive, but is the magic crystal ball actually making money? For most of its life, no. Palantir was founded in 2003 and spent nearly 20 years bleeding money. Building these systems isn't like shipping software off a shelf. It requires elite engineers embedded on site for months at a time. Revenue grew year after year, but profit? Nowhere to be found. Wall Street had a name for them: the money pit. Then 2023 happened, AIP launched, and everything flipped. With AI, Palantir could bring on new customers dramatically faster without proportionately growing headcount. The same team could do far more. Revenue started scaling in a way that costs simply couldn't keep up with. For the first time in company history, Palantir turned a profit, and it wasn't a one-time thing. Revenue that stood around $1.1 billion in 2020 climbs to roughly $4.5 billion by 2025, more than 4x in 5 years. But the more stunning story is the cash. In 2025, Palantir generated about $1.4 billion in operating income, running at a 31.5% operating margin, and pulled in roughly $2.3 billion in free cash flow. That last number means nearly half of every dollar Palantir earns stays as real cash in the bank, an exceptionally strong sign of business health.
And the customer picture is just as remarkable. In 2020, Palantir had 139 customers, almost all of them governments and militaries. By 2025, that number had reached 865, more than 6 times as many. But here's the shift that really matters. Those new customers aren't just government agencies anymore. Manufacturers, energy companies, banks, hospitals. Government revenue came in around $2.4 billion, commercial revenue around $2.1 billion. Nearly a perfect split. Palantir is no longer just a defense contractor. It's evolving into a platform for all of business. And the 2026 forecast? $7.2 billion in revenue, a growth rate of 61%. All of this transformation traces back to one thing: AIP. Palantir has evolved from a data analytics company into an AI-powered decision-making platform. And that evolution is now showing up in the numbers. Revenue accelerating, profits converting into real cash, and customers growing more dependent on Palantir with every passing quarter. But if AIP is driving all of this growth, doesn't that raise an uncomfortable question? If the core idea is connect your data with AI so you can make better decisions, couldn't someone else just do that too? Take ChatGPT, build a similar data layer underneath it, sell it for half the price, and suddenly Palantir has a serious problem on its hands. That fear just became reality. February 2026, OpenAI launches Frontier. The market took it like a gut punch, because Frontier does almost exactly what Palantir does. It takes scattered enterprise data, builds what it calls a semantic layer to give that data meaning. Sound familiar? Puts AI agents on top, layers in enterprise security, and enables team collaboration across the organization. Ontology versus semantic layer. Different names, remarkably similar concept. The response was immediate. HP, Oracle, Uber, Fortune 500 companies were signing up within a single week. Positive feedback started pouring in, and investors began asking the question nobody at Palantir wanted to hear. Is the moat disappearing? But Palantir isn't going down without a fight. There are things here that OpenAI and other competitors can't easily copy. 20 years of government trust, for one. The Pentagon, the CIA, NATO allies. These institutions have put Palantir through layers of security certification that take years to earn. OpenAI hasn't done that, at least not yet. And then there's the switching cost. Once a government or a major corporation has built their entire data infrastructure on top of Palantir's Ontology, ripping it out is almost unthinkable. The cost in time, money, and disruption is enormous. That's a moat, and Palantir's runs deep. But the truly frightening risk isn't about existing customers. It's about the ones who haven't chosen yet. Palantir is a premium product, phenomenal capability, but it takes elite engineers and serious investment to build and maintain. It's the Rolls-Royce of enterprise software. Frontier, by contrast, is faster to deploy, cheaper, and designed for mass adoption. What happens when a fast-growing startup or a cost-conscious mid-sized company looks at both options and just picks OpenAI? History has something to say about this. In the 1980s, McKinsey consultants would walk into companies and charge millions of dollars per project to manually analyze complex data. They had something no one else had, the ability to make sense of massive amounts of information. That was their magic. Then, in the 1990s, Microsoft released Excel. Overnight, the exclusive skill became available to anyone with a laptop. The monopoly on data analysis evaporated. McKinsey didn't disappear. They still pull in over $16 billion a year. But the difference is stark. No more monopoly, and the era of explosive growth came to an end. Could history repeat itself? If ChatGPT or Gemini eventually democratizes the art of data connection, if building your own ontology becomes something any company can do cheaply with off-the-shelf AI, then the massive premium baked into Palantir's stock price today could vanish like smoke. Palantir won't collapse the way a startup does. The government relationships, the deep institutional trust, those are real and durable. But the explosive, category-defining growth story that justifies a sky-high valuation? A very large question mark just appeared over it. The moment Palantir goes from being an irreplaceable magician to being one very good tool among many, that's the moment the market rethinks everything it's been willing to pay. So, where does all of this leave us? Palantir is not just a software company. It sells the ability to make better decisions, and it spent 20 years building something genuinely hard to replicate. What they've proven in the field, in the data, and on the balance sheet is real. Yes, OpenAI's arrival marks the end of the monopoly era, but flip the lens for a moment. The fact that OpenAI felt compelled to enter this space is proof that what Palantir pioneered actually matters. The market is real. The demand is enormous. The pie is getting bigger. The question is whether Palantir is still the best baker or just one of many now holding a spatula. The government contracts, the embedded systems, the battle-hardened security credentials, none of that is going away. That's the floor. But the ceiling, the explosive growth story that makes Palantir's valuation make sense, that comes down entirely to the customers who haven't made their choice yet. The ones sitting right now comparing Palantir's powerful but expensive magic against OpenAI's faster, cheaper, good enough alternative. Crystal balls see the future. Even crystal balls have their blind spots. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Do you think Palantir still has irreplaceable magic, or is the affordable AI wave about to wash the crown right off their head? Share your take in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. If this video helped you actually understand what Palantir is and what's really at stake, subscribe, hit like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.